the three of you, just describe your batting. And now I won't get you to describe your own. I'll get Dennis to describe your batting. You know, what's it look like?
Yeah. Okay. So we actually haven't done this before. It's good. When I think about Alex, I think about, out of the three of us, he's probably technically the most correct. Mm-hmm. And I've seen Alex develop from quite a conservative batsman in his younger years. Mm-hmm. To that premiership season was when I actually saw him really take a big jump. Yes. We asked Alex, your role in the team, you need to be the aggressor. Mm-hmm. Daniel Gregory down the other end as an opening partner wasn't, the high scoring. Obviously, he can bat for a long time, as we'll get to in a minute. But Al's role that year was to really take on the bowlers. Yeah. And since that year, his batting, I think, has actually improved as he's gotten into his 30s. Mm-hmm. And he's able to identify the balls he wants to hit for four, or that he can hit for four. Yeah. And he's got the ability now to put those away whenever they come. Yeah. Whereas previously it was let the ball go, knock it around, do it. And the shot range is all there. Is, to be honest, probably the most complete technically and shot range out of the three of us, I'd say. Yes. And how would you describe
Dennis's?
Here we go.
How would I describe it? I'd say it's Dennis's batting approach is, well, I think all of us, right, extremely competitive cricketers. Mm-hmm. And I think I'll also say that we're from a passionate ethnic background of Greek and Lebanese, and I think sometimes that actually inhibits our ability to stay focused for long periods. I think you'll see that with all of our batting. But I think the dedication and commitment that Dennis has when he's batting is absolutely ridiculous, which is witnessed by when he goes out, his extreme frustration.
At times. It's gotten more mellow as I've gotten older.
Yeah. But I think in terms of batting, it's hard work, it's watching the ball closely, and it's knowing your game, which I think Dennis does quite well. Yes. Is he'll wait for his ball and just work the ones, and then wait for that cut shot that'll hit for 6 at Brunswick, which was a great shot. I'll never forget that. I think he does that well. Yeah. Sticks it out.
Just on Dennis's batting, obviously coming from a synthetic when we were in juniors and then moving across to turf, we all had to sort of change our game a little bit. Yeah. But I think for Dennis, he had some really good back foot shots on the cut and on the pull, and then he had to develop his front foot shots further. Yeah. And as a result, I mean, he was always good off his pads, and whenever a bowler bowls there, he able to get away. But yeah, that cut shot has become a real weapon, I think.
Yeah. And
Greg, well,
do I want to hear it? Jeez.
Look, from what I see of Greg, when
Greg thinks he knows a lot.
Greg thinks he knows a little bit too much. Right. But in saying that, he's got the best eye out of the three of us.
Yeah, great.
So he's able to pick up the length or the line of a ball and know where he wants to hit it like really quickly. Yeah. His hands through the ball are probably the quickest out of the three of us. And I think his ability to manipulate the ball from a position where you'd normally hit, let's say, a cover drive, he'd be able to hit it through backward point for 4 because he'd know that the field is placed as such. So his ability to do that when he's in form is second to none. And I think, he's been through a few different injuries throughout his time, which has hindered his progression in cricket. But I think had he been fully fit, he'd probably have posted a few more batting averages and things like that along the way, because he's definitely got the skills and talent to do so. And deadly pull shot when it's on.
Right. Yeah. Well, clearly you've got a lot of talent and the application, the concentration to win so many awards, so many batting averages over such a long period of time. So it's outstanding.
Just 2 days after filming this video, Greg scored an unbelievable 109 as part of Preston's chase in the firsts against Plenty Valley. We chased down 252, and I take a bit of credit for this, obviously passing on a hell of a lot of good luck.
Let's talk about the big partnership. 270, as I mentioned, the second highest partnership, I believe, in the history of the club. The little bit I know about it, it was pretty slow early, maybe for the first hour and a half or 2 hours towards tea, and then after tea it just became an absolute massacre of the attack.
Well, look, it was versus Coburg out at Coburg.
Yeah, big ground.
Big ground. The deck was actually half decent for once.
Yeah.
Are you saying Coburg's is not?
Generally not.
That's a fair statement.
Yeah,
Nothing's changed in 50 years.
Yeah. Look, so I came in at number 4. So we had, I think Matt Staples opened with Dan Gregory, and then James Wigington was at 3. Wiggo was dismissed off a full toss. I can't remember how Matty went out. I came in, and as you said, it was just steady as she goes. And once we were set and once our eyes were in, both our style of batting lends itself to batting for long periods of time. Concentration, that discipline and that desire and hunger to bat for long periods of time, that's both how we both bat. So we just said, and I kept saying to Daniel, just keep doing what you're doing, away you go. I think he ended up with 170.
Yes.
I was 120 something. But yeah, it was one of those days where you get in and you feel like you can't get out.
Yes.
Whatever they bowl, I'm not being dismissed.
No.
They had a left arm off spinner, Altaf Nizam, who actually come and played at Preston for a few seasons after that. He was the pick of their bowlers. We were knocking him around for 2 and over, 3 and over, and going after the other end, really. That's all they really had that was threatening us, and we identified that, okay, he's probably the only one that'll get us out.
Yeah.
The rest aren't we're comfortable with the rest of them.
Yeah.
And that's how we kind of navigated the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good. I'm going to shout out Daniel Dodonna, who had the pads on for 5 hours or whatever it was. And then our captain, Michael Hayes, towards the end of the innings, I think Dan got dismissed. He was knackered. Sent in our number 11 to have a dip. He said, Daniel, don't worry about that.
Wow.
So that was, that was actually quite funny. It was good.
I wasn't there that day, so didn't get to witness it.
Right. Did you win the game?
We won the game. We made over 300.
Yeah.
And
warm day, wasn't it?
It was a warm day. Yeah, it was a hot day. Yeah. And then we came back the next week. I actually don't remember what we bowled them out for, but we won.
And it was a century. Was that your first century, or
that was my second century? I scored one prior for the club.
Yeah.
I believe in the 4th 11. Prior to that, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And how about you boys?
You made the most, haven't you? 3 or 4?
Yeah, I've made a third 11 century.
Seconds in.
I've made a 99 in the 3s as well. Remember that one?
I remember that, charged and bowled.
That was in that premiership year.
Right.
And then I think
St Bernard's 2s.
Second 11, I've made 165 not out, and that was a day at St Bernard's. 65 overs into the match, and we were 340 odd.
Wow.
And Michael Hayes was captain of the side and decided to wave us in.
Right.
He said, "That's enough.
Yeah.
Let's have a crack at him."
I would have done the same.
Yeah. So you missed out on a double century.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
Bit Usman Khawaja like.
Yeah. Yeah. And how about you?
Yeah, I think one. I can't even recall.
Yeah.
And was it last year?
I'd say more than one. I reckon you've had at least 2 in the 2s.
I reckon you've had 2 in the 2s. Yeah. 2 in the 2s and probably a 90-something in the 2s as well.
Well, I made 83 3 times, I think. One was in the 2020 and then 2 during the season. But then I think it was last year, after having, or the last 10 years, I've had 5 years out with injury and working through things. So coming back last year, and this would sound very silly if it wasn't last year, but I think it was last year, and making 125 not out, which I don't often, not often not out, and getting the team a win in the twos at some stage was actually really rewarding and stands out as a good moment.
Yeah.
And then the silly moment was, and the same thing last year, was on 99 with 2 balls left. Sorry, I was on 98 with 2 balls left.
Oh, yeah.
Hit the ball, ran a single, and was
yes.
up the other end and finished on 99 not out. I wasn't really thinking. So that was a funny moment.
Yeah. What stands out when you look back over all these years? You know, what's the 1 or 2 things that sort of stand out?
I think it's the people you meet and the friends you make at a cricket club. And, you know, one that obviously has recently passed, Sean Harrison. He was a big figure at the club and a big figure for me, and I'm sure for
Yeah, absolutely.
these 2 boys as well. So, but yeah, just the people you meet, and I think as Greg said earlier, the competitive nature of the game and being able to compete with, you know, a group of mates, that stands out. There's nothing. I mean, as you said, that the third 11 when we had been here for a couple of years. When I look back on it now, it stands out. At the time, I don't think it did because I was fairly young. But yeah, I think understanding, you know, the group of people that you play with when you win a premiership, and you know how special that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, for me, I'll echo what Alex said. It's the people, but we talk about it a lot, and you don't quite understand it when you're a little bit younger and when you first at a club. This is a community here that we're a part of, and something like this interview, and the fact that I personally, and I'm sure the boys do as well, feel very privileged to be part of the club's history. We're actually, when you know, you contacted Greg, or actually I think you contacted me and said we want to catch up, it was a bit humbling. It's like, yeah, we have been a part of Preston. We have been a part of the history here, and I felt really proud to be part of, associated with such a great place.
Yes.
And you think back, and when I think of Preston, I actually think of Sean.
Yeah.
I think of Sean. I think of Hazy. He was one of my first captains, and Wayne McLaughlin as well. When I think of Preston, obviously there's a lot of other people as well, but that's kind of the figureheads that I think of. So. Yeah, look, the premierships are great, the awards are great, but it's just that being part of a community that is working towards this common goal of, I want to play cricket, I want to win, I want to do well, I want to compete. That's what it is. That's what it's about for me.
Yeah, well said. What about you?
Yeah, look, absolutely. I think if I was to liken to the modern day 21st century view of the best workplace environments, have work-life balance for their employees at an optimal level. And I'll sort of look at, again, as having to manage a lot of injuries and niggles. The understanding of the coaching staff throughout that time has been fantastic in allowing me to go about how I need to manage and get ready week to week. And I think the balance of, you know, we're not at the elite level here, but we're not at the local level, and I think, you know, we've been continually trying to find that right balance of, hey, we're competitive and we're committed, but there is that little bit of leniency. I think we've got a really good balance of that now. So that's probably the highlight is seeing the club, you know, when Cricket Victoria stops spending or providing funding for us, club had to go out and get new revenue, sponsorship, volunteering, fundraisers rather. Seeing the professionalism that the club he's continuing to build is fantastic, and keen to be a part of it for a long time.
Well said. As we move towards the finish, let's just get some one-word answers to some questions. Right. Best coach you've played with?
David Tate.
Best batter you've batted with?
I'll probably have to say Kevin Lowe. I played a couple of seasons, a season or so. Sorry, Kevin Lowe.
Yeah, Kevin Lowe. Yeah, good answer. Who's been the funniest teammate? Cracks you up?
Wow. Funniest. Brent Tadgell. he is an interesting cricketer.
New player at the club this season.
Yeah.
He's interesting.
All right, we'll find out a little bit more maybe another time. Who do you enjoy beating the most?
Oh, Plenty Valley.
Brunswick.
Brunswick?
Yep.
Yeah. Gee, that history goes back a long time.
Probably is Brunswick now that you mention it. But they have really good afternoon tea, so I take pity on them.
They're a good club. They're a very, very good club. Who do you really enjoy playing with in the club?
Johnny Mastrigianis.
Yeah.
Probably him.
Apart from my brothers.
Yeah.
Probably him, and I'd say Alex Lewis as well.
Yeah.
And Luke Bramage. I love them all. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, we're just about out of time, so I want to again thank you for your commitment on behalf of the past players. It's just quite amazing. I can see why you've stuck around, and I can see why you're highly regarded down here. Tremendous guys. It looks as though there's a lot more cricket in you, so you know.
You pointed to him.
Yeah, me, old bastard.
Yeah, a lot more cricket, and I know looking in, we'd love to see you stick around and help. I've played in the ones, but help the young players sort of develop as we go through this. It's a difficult period in cricket, or probably a difficult period everywhere, isn't it? Post-COVID and everything that's sort of going on. So once again, thank you very much for the time.
Thanks, Lou.
Look forward to seeing you on the park as the season progresses.
Thanks very much, Lee.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. This is where the audience comes in.
Yeah. Now, I didn't ask who was the best looking.
Oh, that's obvious.
That's clearly me.
Yeah, it's got to be me.
It's got to be you.